Hey traders, this is Christian from Hertz Tribeca Trade Group, and happy Friday. Happy Friday the 13th. Pretty impressive price action for the day. S&P finishes up 1.4%. We got some new records today too. That's an all-time high for the S&P for a close, as well as the Russell 2000. Small caps, look at that, up 2%. And they punch out to an all-time high. Pretty amazing how quickly that happened too. Let's before we go into the rest of the performance for the day, and I also have the performance for the week. Let's go ahead and just look at the technicals really quick and some of these things that made an all-time closing high. Yeah, basically just above this prior peak. So. Impressive, and I would say from where we were yesterday too. It's just it's impressive how quickly we can kind of come in and test that support, and then right in here, and even I got a little bit more defensive yesterday. I was a little bit worried that we might start to kind of break into value and lose this this uptrend for the week, but we held and we bounced. So very, very nice and impressive. And the market webs indicator doing everything that we needed to do. We just kind of have to make sure that we're following price and trend, right? We heard a lot about sentiment, that it got super hot this week. However, sentiment can get hot, but really price and trend are the things that are going to pay us money. Not we're not sentiment traders. We trade based on price and for me based on trend as well. So we'll see if that does kind of come into play. At some point maybe we get a little bit of a pullback, but not today. And really with the overall price too, we're not seeing any sell signal. So be that as it may, you heard a lot about ETF fund flows this week and different surveys being hot. But right now, the market, is pushing higher. So I would say respect the trend and be mindful when it does change. Yeah, I mean, and here we are, small caps, all-time high. So, amazing how quickly that happened. And also from the move yesterday. Notice the move yesterday, by the way, where small caps underperformed a bit. Just basically coming back into the 5-period moving average support. I see this in a ton of charts, by the way, right? After this crazy gap up that we dealt with on Monday, you did have some things that kind of pushed back a little bit, didn't necessarily fill the gap, but, held nicely. A couple names that I was looking at, of course, this was the chart of the day that I put out every morning for members, and was the Jets ETF, right? So if you want, and we did see, short-term call buying in the Jets ETF once again, probably a little bit of speculation on, more vaccine news if I had to guess. But, if you kind of got left out of this move, this gap up, if you weren't a part of it and had a little bit of FOMO, you had a chance to kind of get involved into some of these things. Because they gave you a little bit of a pushback, retraced about, almost one half of the move, I would say, from this gap up, and again, looking at zooming out and seeing where these things are, I think we could begin to see a retracement of bigger sorts. Obviously we're going to need that vaccine news, but I think it's important to kind of take a look at where some of these things are and have gotten down to and are not near, all-time highs. So KRE regional banks also, strong on the day, up 3%. A couple names that I was looking at was Starbucks. Again, you kind of see the same thing, right? Gap up. Price kind of came down and found this 5-period moving average. Notice it's above value. A name that I was talking about on Bloomberg today was AXP. Why I've kind of drawn to this one is it's a little bit of an under the radar travel type play, right? A lot of people book their travel with American Express. So, I think that right, it's a big if. And I think with trading, you kind of have to look at things in terms of probability and risk return, right? So these are the areas that I think people are kind of looking at or a little bit more in focus, now that we have some data on the possibility of a vaccine, and if If we do get to that place, right, where we do have a vaccine and it becomes being distributed, I heard one of the comments today from one of the officials. Believe it was Azar said that seniors will get the vaccine first. So, what do you think seniors are going to do? They're probably going to do some traveling, right? So, I think everybody wants to do a little bit of that. So that's why I like trades like this. And I think playing them in options is a good way to kind of define your risk too. So I talked a little bit about on Bloomberg TV, but yeah. So and if you look at the performance today too, it's a little bit startling to look at some of these things. XOP, which was one of the underperformers the last couple days, or especially yesterday, I should say, snapped right back. So it did not take out the highs for the week, but still, just these are big moves that we're seeing right now in the market, all over the place. All right, so energy top of the list, metals and mining up there too. Steel names were strong. You see a lot of commodity type things up here. In the top performers for the day. Underperformers, right? Were some of those areas that got hit a little bit in the beginning of the week. The FANG stocks, while they were positive for the day, but they did sell off a little bit through the session. Also software, right? One of the things that we talked about in today's member thoughts ahead of the weekend, which we do every Friday at around 1 o'clock, was take a look at your portfolio and see if you're concentrated and make sure that you're aware of that. And if you need to make some adjustments, make some adjustments. If you're too concentrated in some areas of the market, right? Everybody can make those adjustments to kind of level things out a little bit. For the most part, for the better part of the year, I've been long, a lot of growth names, a lot of software names, playing them back and forth. When names kind of came in, dipped in uptrends, those were great buying opportunities. But the picture might be changing a little bit, and that'll be something that we have to monitor. So I think there'll be some interesting things going on in the next couple weeks. So, by the way, risk disclaimers in front of you. Everything and all the areas that I'm covering, of course, are for information purposes only, not giving out any advice or recommendations. But crazy moves with the obviously with the EV stocks. Right, this Neo traded, huge volume, huge option volume, and yeah, and you got that reversal bar today. Note, I would say this with all that volume in Neo today and some of the other EV plays or China EV plays like LI and XPEV. Take a look to see if they lost the 5-period moving average. Right, you could have some nasty looking bars, but if price doesn't lose the trend, you can kind of continue to kind of watch these things. But very, very high momentum. All right, so let's talk about the week's performance, which I have that up as well. Again, just interesting to kind of take a look at some of these moves. First of all, top line, right? This is what we did last week. I'll just put this in view, right? Remember last week the S&P was up 7.2%, IWM was up 6.8%. The NASDAQ outperformed last week, up 9.4%. Little bit different this week. We'll start with the Qs because they jump out in red, but they were down 1.3% for the week. Some of that coming obviously in the beginning of the week, right? There was a big rotation out of momentum and into some value, but SPY finished up 2.7% for the week. Again, look at the performance of IWM, which made that all-time high today. Up 6% up for the week. Again, another big strong week for the small caps. The diamonds did pretty well too, up 4.2%. Interesting too, even in international emerging markets, right, which is a bit heavy technology. When you look at the top components, you got things like Tencent and Alibaba in there. Underperformed a touch, only up around 1%. And then IFA, which is international developed markets, so a lot of Japan, a lot of Europe in there, up close to 5%. TLT and gold. So again, it kind of looked like risk on, besides the Qs, which were negative for the week. Again, the performance mirrored a little bit of what we saw today. Big moves out of energy. XOP was up 20% for the week. Huge moves from those lows. Regional banks were very strong. Defense and aerospace also up 10% for the week. So some really big standout numbers there. What didn't perform? Solar took a break this week. The internet group was down 4.1% for the week. Even Chinese internet names, which again aren't going to include those those auto names, actually was down for the week. Semiconductors took a break too this week, although we did see some relative outperformance in a couple areas like Taiwan Semiconductor and a couple other ones there too. Applied Materials, obviously with earnings there. Consumer discretionary names also underperformed a little bit. And then if we take a look at international, you know, just interesting some of the relationships here because you hear a lot about possible lockdowns occurring in Europe, and look at the performance for a second week in a row. You had Spain up 14%, Austria up 11%, Belgium up 9%. Right, you have France and the UK in there too, up over 8%. So, again, what's most important is focusing on price and trend, and not so much the headlines. China underperformed for the week. Local shares were down 0.8%. So that's basically a wrap for the week. I thought, trading wise, today wasn't one of my best trading days, but a little bit frustrating sometimes at time. At frustrating at times trading is. If you're not in all the right trades, sometimes you can get a little bit frustrated, or if you're missing some trades a bit. That's basically just how it works sometimes. So if that happened to you this week, and you weren't in the right names, this type of thing happens, and capitalize on the areas that are starting to trend, and keep staying objective, and finding where that next momentum move is going to take place. All right, guys. So that's it for today's recap. Again, just overall, impressive to see the S&P and the Russell 2000 small caps go ahead and break out to new highs. But yeah, a lot of interest. No doubt, a lot of interesting moves under the hood as well in those sectors that are in front of you. All right, guys. Have a great weekend, and I'll see you guys on Monday.